Hello, BookTube, and welcome to the Literary Buffet. Today is Thursday, so we'll do Poetry Thursday. And today I have the first poet of them all. And it's not Homer, it's not Hesiod, it is actually Enheduana. In this wonderful, wonderful book by Yale University Press with this necklace with golden leaves, just really gorgeous. Um, the book is translated by Sophus Helle, so the poems are translated, not the book. And who is Enheduana? So Enheduana was the high priestess from ancient Sumeria. She was a high priestess in the city of Ur, one of the oldest cities in Mesopotamia. And she was actually the daughter of the famous Sargon of Akkad. Sargon was the first empire builder in history, as far as we know. He was the one that conquered these various Mesopotamian cities into the first kingdom or empire that is known in history. So she was his daughter. I said she was in Ur, so not in Akkad, and that's because she actually was sent by her father to Ur to become high priestess of, I believe, the moon god. However, her actual deity, so the one that she personally worshipped, was the deity, the goddess Inana, which later became known as the goddess Ishtar. And so her work, it says here the complete poems, well, there's only 3 poems really, 2 long poems to Inanna, hymns to Inanna basically, and then a series of temple poems. So basically where she praises the various temples of Sumeria. The temple poems are a bit weird and not that interesting. You have to imagine it as if somebody would write a series of little poems about the cathedrals of England. So you would have like the hymn to the Cathedral of Canterbury, the hymn to Westminster Abbey, the hymn to Durham Cathedral, etc., etc. So I won't read from those, but what I will actually read to you is the beginning of the most complete poem that we have of her, and that's the Exaltation to Inanna, so Inanna the goddess. And I'll just read you kind of like the first page, so the first 2 little segments of it, and not the whole poem. The whole poem would be a bit too long. So let's start. Queen of all powers, downpour of daylight, good woman wrapped in frightful light, loved by heaven and earth, holy woman of An. You hold the great gems, you love the good crown, to rule is your right. You have seized the 7 powers of the gods. My queen, you are the guardian of the gods' great powers. You lift them up and grasp them in your hand. You take them in and clasp them to your breast. As if you were a basilisk, you pour poison upon the enemy. As if you were the storm god, grain bends before your roar. You are like a flash flood that gushes down the mountains. You are supreme in heaven and earth. You are Inanna. And then it continues with various descriptions of Inanna and of her powers. It ends with Enheduana herself, so the high priestess, asking for her for Inanna's intervention and helping her. So as I said, the Exaltation of Inanna is the one that's the most complete. So the hymn to Inanna, which is the second poem that we know, is much more fragmentary. So if I can show you what this looks like. So this is basically what we have of segments of that poem. And then the various hymns to the temples are much shorter, and it's kind of like as if you would commission somebody to write into a poem, to a temple. What's great about this book by Sophus Helle is that it doesn't just give you these poems, it gives you like everything, like the whole world of Enheduana, where she was, like the history of Ur, and then the Akkad, how it came to be that Akkad conquered Ur, how she lived there, how we actually know that she wrote these poems. These poems obviously, or maybe not obviously, these poems actually weren't found in Ur. They were actually transcribed thousands of years after Enheduanna lived. So she lived in, let me just quickly check, 2300 BCE. So 1000 years after that, scribes in Babylon were writing down the poems of Enheduanna, and then of other, at that time, classical writers. Actually, these were like the canonical works of Babylonian literature. It's also interesting to know that she wrote, or the poems are written in Sumerian. Sumerian was the language of southern Mesopotamia, so Ur, Uruk, these kinds of cities. But Babylon didn't speak Sumerian, so Babylon had like its own language, Babylonian. It is completely unrelated to Sumerian. Sumerian is actually a language isolate, so it is not related to anything else that we know of. And so, but still, the reason why it was still being transcribed in this dead language for the Babylonians is because Sumerian was like Latin was for a long time for us here in the West. So it was a religious language, a language of erudition. If you were a scribe to the kings of Babylon, you had to know Sumerian. And Enheduanna was one of the classics of Sumerian language. So the book also makes a great deal about the fact that Enheduanna was a woman. So actually the first author that we can place where we can actually attach a name to a literary work is a woman, high priestess. It's so it's something that's, I think, not well known enough. It's maybe sometimes a bit, laid on too thick, as if she was like an antique feminist warrior. I don't think that's probably the case. But still, she was well regarded in Babylon for her works to actually be preserved. So I can definitely recommend that book. It's a great book. It's not too thick. Provides you everything you need to know about ancient Sumeria and about Enheduanna. So that was Poetry Thursday for today. Hope you enjoyed. Thanks, BookTube, and bye.